I know you like to watch me on television, you sick son of a bitch. I've got something to show you. Pwah! Welcome back to the Starry Channel. Man, 2020 has been nuts. Kind of taken a break from social media, mainly because I've been going nuts on social media. Everybody's been going nuts on social media, so I had to take a break. So what did I do? I spent my time with a couple of buddies, far more nuts than anybody online. So this is Abbott and Costello, the complete collection, universal collection. And yeah, these guys are a classic duo from the 40s. They come from burlesque stand-up. Yeah, like burlesque used to be stand-up, and ladies dancing around, let's just say. Great time, I think. These are really brilliant guys. They're brilliant, unlike many of the other acts at the time. These guys were not only good at slapstick, but also wordplay. They're really good at wordplay. And if you're a writer, like, it's a good idea to watch these movies to really get an idea of what you can do with dialogue. Like, my English teacher in college actually showed us Who's On First, just to give us an idea of what the possibilities of dialogue were. Of course, I, at that time, had been into several old movies, including Abbott and Costello, and I very much knew Who's On First. So, anyway, Bud Abbott is the tall, slender guy, one of the best straight men in the business, and like Lou Costello is the short, fat guy, one of the best crazy guys in the business. So you got the straight man and the crazy man, and it's freaking gold. What you actually find out, which is really interesting, is that Lou Costello's voice, while very high-pitched and stuff, you actually find out that that's not his actual voice. That's actually a voice he put on, and it may seem obvious now that I told you, but it really isn't that obvious when you're watching the movies. Like, I guess he fools you. He's so good at it. He fools you to think that actually is his voice. Anyway, let's see. We also find out something else. The first movie in here is Night in the Tropics, which is one of those star vehicles where they were like showcasing a bunch of new actors in a story, very formulaic. But the thing is, like, Bud Abbott and Lou Costello was in that movie, and they stood out. So after that, they went on to make the Buck Privates movie, which was sort of a World War II sort of propaganda movie. It's like Bud Abbott and Lou Costello, they're being chased by the police because they're always being chased by the police. Anyway, they duck into a theater, and it turns out they're now in the army. So, lots of screw-ups, hijinks. It's really great. It's a really great film. They're all great films, but the thing about Buck Privates is, like, its place in military history, because I'm actually surprised to say this, but I think it's actually true. Bud Abbott and Lou Costello were a huge reason why we crushed it in the Pacific Theater in World War II. Now, before you, like, cry blasphemy, all you historians out there, let me explain. Bud Abbott and Lou Costello were making Buck Privates to sell war bonds and drive recruitment into the U.S. Army, which did succeed, which was partially part of the war effort. But the other thing is the Japanese took this film by Bud Abbott and Lou Costello, and they showed it to all their troops to show them what the average American soldier was like. So that was a very bad mess up, because when the Japanese faced us in the Pacific Theater, they were expecting Bud Abbott and Lou Costello, and they were not expecting the Greatest Generation. They were nowhere near prepared for the real deal. Anyway, I think that's a large reason why we crushed it in the Pacific Theater. These two guys. Anyway, this cost about $120 on Amazon.com. You can also get this from ShoutFactory.com. It's a nice 15 Blu-ray set. 28 films and a bonus disc with a lot of the bonus extras. This actually has 9 new commentaries, and let us go through this. There is a booklet. To be fair, I haven't read it. I know, it's, I might do a compendium video, but anyway, let's see. There is the first disc, okay? One Night in the Tropics, Buck Privates, In the Navy, a funny movie, and it introduces Evelyn Ankers as, I think it was like Norma Lind she plays in it, yeah. And she went on to do a bunch of other Universal monster movies, too. I call her one of the queens of B movies, actually, one of the earliest. Anyway, then there's Abbott and Costello and Keep 'em Flying, Ride 'em Cowboy, Pardon My Sarong, which I really liked. There's actually this great moment in Pardon My Sarong where it's just like a whole freaking shot of a large field of like beautiful women doing the hula. It's like, wow, I haven't seen that blatant a display of celebration of femininity in a film in a long time, and it's something I miss. Anyway, there's Whodunit, Abbott and Costello and It Ain't Hay, Abbott and Costello and Hit the Ice. I love these titles. Abbott and Costello in Society. But Abbott and Lou Costello, Here Come the Coeds. I tell you, they greased somebody's palms to write that one for them. Abbott and Costello in the Naughty 90s, which honestly, they do the Who's On First routine in the Naughty 90s. And what's really interesting is they actually captured on film their best routine in terms of Who's On First, their best performance of that routine. They honestly said it's the best performance they ever did of that bit, which is really interesting because in terms of like capturing things for posterity, I thought it was really interesting because I was watching Abbott and Castello and Here Come the Coeds, and there's this one woman who's playing the violin. She's not playing anything sad or like melodramatic or anything. She's actually playing something very high-pitched and energetic. But as I was listening to this, performance that happened like nearly 80 years ago, I just burst into tears. And I just thought that was interesting after I was moved by this performance because, you know, this was a performance from decades ago and it still has that impact on somebody. So, anyway. Then there's But Abbott and Lou Costello in The Little Giant, which is a salesman movie. There's Bud Abbott and Lou Costello and The Time of Their Lives. Not really saying what these movies are about. Anyway, The Time of Their Lives is about a couple of people from the Revolutionary War who were branded traitors, and they were cursed that they could never leave that property until it was proven otherwise that they weren't traitors. So it goes to modern day 1940s, and it's just great. And honestly, like, kind of convinced me that probably the perfect girlfriend is a ghost girlfriend. But, you know, anyway, it's neither here nor there. Bud Abbott and Lou Costello and Buck Privates Come Home, which is really interesting because that's really the only sequel to a movie they ever did. Bud Abbott, Lou Costello, and The Wistful Widow of Wagon Gap. It's like sort of a Western type thing. Bud Abbott and Lou Costello Meet Frankenstein. This is how I met them. Like, I was going to a class in middle school, and like what's really interesting is like on every Friday the 13th we would have Root Beer Float Friday. And like we'd either like put in my favorite movie of all time, King Kong, or like we'd put in my third favorite movie of all time, Bud Abbott and Lou Costello Meet Frankenstein. If you're wondering what my second favorite movie of all time is, it's The Adventures of Robin Hood with Errol Flynn. Anyway, you know, the classics. Anyway, Bud Abbott and Lou Costello Meet Frankenstein is perhaps their most popular film, at least by the fans. By them, is their most hated film. They really hated this film. Just funny because people find it to be the most relatable one. Like, they get into Bud Abbott and Lou Costello through that film. I know I did. Anyway, Bud Abbott and Lou Costello and Mexican Hayride. Again, they're on the run from the police, as usual. Bud Abbott and Lou Costello meet the killer Boris Karloff. Now, Boris Karloff refused to come back to play Frankenstein, and Bud Abbott and Lou Costello meet Frankenstein because he thought they were going to make fun of the character. I don't think they did, actually, but it's neither here nor there. He was willing to help out with the press release and junket, so he's going on tour, doing interviews and stuff, helping promote the film. But I guess he wanted in because, you know, he was in Abbott and Costello Meet the Killer Boris Karloff next. And, well, anyway, I don't want to ruin it too much, but, yeah, Boris Karloff has a small bitch in it, I'll just say. Then, let's see, the last one's Bud Abbott and Lou Costello in The Foreign Legion. It's actually kind of good. Bud Abbott and Lou Costello Meet the Invisible Man, which is a sequel in the Invisible Man franchise that they adapted to be a Bud Abbott and Lou Costello film. Then you've got Bud Abbott and Lou Costello and Coming Round the Mountain. Oh yeah, like, that's the one about kissing cousins. Oh god. I'm not sure if you can make that one today. But it was funny. It was funny. Bud Abbott and Lou Costello and Lost in Alaska. Bud Abbott and Lou Costello Go to Mars, which is pretty good. Bud Abbott and Lou Costello Meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This one is actually one of the few ones I feel like could actually be considered a universal horror film, just as much as the others, while still being a Bud Abbott and Lou Costello film. I mean, what about the others? Well, yes, the others too, but more so with Bud Abbott and Lou Costello Meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This just feels like a classic Universal monster movie, and it has Bud Abbott and Lou Costello in it. Interestingly enough, they don't do any of their classic routines in it, but I still like it. So yeah, the second to last one is actually the last one I finished, because all the horror movies I watched in October. And anyway, so the last one I watched was actually Bud Abbott and Lou Costello Meet the Keystone Cops. I honestly feel like this is probably one of the funniest ones. I might be a bit biased in that because, you know, they meet like the silent film era Keystone Cops in this, of course. But the other thing is, Bud Abbott gets the crap kicked out of him in this one, just constantly. And, like, after having sat through 27 films of him being just abusive to everybody, I'm just, like, laughing my ass off as he's getting the crap kicked out of him. I'm like, I've been waiting 28 films for this! Anyway, that's, it's one of the many reasons I feel it's one of the funniest. There's other reasons, too, especially some of the bits they do. But then there's Bud Abbott and Lou Costello Meet the Mummy, which is, again, a sequel they're going to do to the Mummy series, but they adapted it to Bud Abbott and Lou Costello. I don't think they really cared much for that last one. I mean, I don't know if this was purposeful or not, but like throughout the entire movie, they're calling each other Bud and Lou, and then like in the credits it shows like their characters' names. I don't know if like that was actually planned or not. I wouldn't be surprised if they're screwing with the audience like that, but also wouldn't be surprised if they just didn't care. Anyway, there is let's put this back, shall we? Let's see. So, anyway, 15 discs in here. The last disc actually is the one with the special features. And let's see, I'm not sure these are all of them, but hours of special features. New interview with Chris Castello. New interview with author film historian Ron Palumbo, co-author of Bud Abbott and Costello in Hollywood. New interview with author film historian James L. Nabar. I'm just going to call him Neighbor. Okay, 9 new audio commentaries. World of Abbott and Costello. Abbott and Costello meet Jerry Seinfeld. Comic great hosts a tribute to one of the greatest comedy teams. Abbott and Castello meet the monsters. Abbott and Costello Meet Castle Films. Audio commentaries, trailers, and more. Also includes a 44-page booklet detailing the legacy of Bud and Lou at Universal. Something I did not read for this. So, anyway, let's put this back on the shelf, shall we? Oh, that's something I should probably bring up, is, as with a lot of Shout Factory, Scream Factory releases, like, it has a habit of kind of, you know, deteriorating a bit on the edges. Like, maybe it's not me taking care of it, but I think I take pretty good care of my movies. Just, like, find it as sort of like an annoyance, but, you know, as long as it doesn't really interfere too much with the main image, not too worried about the spine. I own comic books, I own a lot of things, like, anyway, I don't want to go too into it. I don't really feel like doing a tour of my stuff, at least not yet. But, anyway, what do I feel about Bud Abbott and Lou Castello? I feel like they're one of the greats. Like, I think, like, not a lot of kids today know about them, which sucks because they're brilliant. Honestly, I think if you know someone younger than you, if you are someone younger than me, check out Bud Abbott and Lou Castello. They're freaking brilliant. Their timing, their performance, their delivery, everything. Like, it's lightning in a bottle. It really is. And even Bud Abbott realized that after Lou Castello died. Bud Abbott tried to partner with another person, Candy Candino, which, Candy Candino. I love these fake names, you know. Candy Candino, Steven Spielberg, Kate Beckinsale. Just all these comic book stage names, you know. Anyway, yeah. So he tried to partner with Candy Candino, and it just didn't work because there's no recapturing lightning in a bottle, despite how much Hollywood tries. So anyway, that is like the 28 film set of Bud Abbott and Lou Castello. I'm sorry that you don't have much more information, but I really enjoyed this set. I've stopped giving out ratings because I felt ratings were superfluous, but if I could give it a rating, I would give it a 10 out of 10. I think these guys are some of the funniest things ever. They're some of the funniest people, performers ever, and yeah. I also find this interesting about old films. It's like, watch Captain Blood, listen to the dialogue, watch His Girl Friday, listen to the dialogue, watch Bud Abbott and Lou Castello, listen to how the dialogue is, then go watch any Michael Bay movie, and tell me which sounds smarter. Okay, this is the Astari signing off. Should have been spanked as a child. Hua! Hua!